There are a lot of stories about falling in love at first sight. Not only the princess, but the prince can also feel that way. Then they fall in love all of a sudden and propose to each other to make them as their life partners without even knowing each other. In the end, it was all about face. A beautiful woman with money and status was the strongest. Or this was what our protagonist thought before he met her. It was a sudden meeting, and that day our protagonist experienced it. That day he fell in love at first sight. We begin the story in a packed train. Our protagonist, whose name is Momoda Kaoru, is a normal first-year high school student, and today he had to travel in crowded train as he ended up oversleeping. Normally Kaoru was able to get a seat in the early and spend his journey's quality time reading, but today he has to travel in such a crowded train as he read manga until late night the day before. Kaoru thought that he had no time to prepare in the morning, so he has to take such a packed train, which ended up making him feel kind of dispirited. When the train reached the next station, the gates opened and a new crowd of people rushed in, and within the crowd was also a beautiful girl. Seeing the girl, Kaoru was stunned as he could not take his eyes off her. While Kaoru was staring at her, he wondered as how big the girl's melons were, and then he realized that it was bad as he was staring at her too much. After seeing the uniform the girl was wearing, Kaoru confirmed that the uniform was from Turin Josei Academy, as it was one of the prestigious high schools for the rich kids around that area. But he was surprised as to why the girl had boarded this train, because Turin Academy was in the opposite direction from where the train was headed. Kaoru then noticed something. He saw that an old man was groping the behind of the girl. Kaoru was shocked to see what the old man was doing so early in the morning. He wondered if the old man was a pervert, and he started panicking about what he should do. At that moment the girl made eye contact with Kaoru. Seeing that the girl had noticed Kaoru, he just could not leave her alone. So, Kaoru built up his courage and grabbed a hold of the old man's hand and pulled it away while shouting at the old man, asking what he was doing. The old man was shocked and he shouted at Kaoru, asking him who he was and what Kaoru was doing so suddenly. Kaoru replied back by saying that the old man should not pretend to innocent as just now he was. Saying this, Kaoru paused as he knew that he should not act rashly, as if he said any more the girl would be exposed and people would judge her. So, even though Kaoru was embarrassed, he built up his courage and shouted that the old man was touching his butt just now. Hearing this, everyone in the train car was shocked, including the old man and the girl. Kaoru then continued by saying that even if the old man that Kaoru's butt was cute, he should not do this kind of thing in the morning. At the next station, which was the last stop of the route, Kaoru dashed off from the train as he thought to himself how he had really done it this time, as he had a feeling that there were people who went to the same school as him there in the train. Kaoru was worried that if someone had taken a photo and uploaded it on social media, then his high school life as a student would be over. But he was also glad that nobody had realized that the one who was being harassed was not him but the girl. All of a sudden, the girl from the train came running behind Kaoru as she requested for him to wait for a minute. She was panting from all the running as she said to Kaoru that she was relieved that she had found him. Then the girl shyly thanked Kaoru for what he had done just then. Kaoru thought that the girl was really cute, and then he again started thinking about how big her melons were. The girl then said that she was very scared and that she was not sure what she should have done just then, and that Kaoru had really saved her and she was grateful for that. She then apologized to Kaoru for troubling him. Kaoru then interjected all of a sudden, saying that he had not really done something big, and that he should have reported the guy to the train security guard rather than judging him on his own accord. The girl then suddenly said to Kaoru that he should not apologize, as he had pretended to become the victim so that she was not ashamed. The girl then apologized to Kaoru again and said that because of her he had become the target of embarrassment, and then she thanked him, saying that she was very glad that the one who had saved her was Kaoru. Kaoru blushed listening to the girl as he thought to himself that he wanted to talk to her more and wanted to meet her again, and he wondered what the feeling was that he was feeling just then. The girl then nervously asked Kaoru if he was okay to tell her his contact info. Kaoru was stunned from this, and the girl thought that he did not want to share it with her, so she timidly said that it was completely alright if he did not want to share, and she just wanted to thank him for today's matter. Kaoru and the girl exchanged contact info. The girl's name was Orihara Haim. Kaoru asked about her name, and the girl laughed as she said that being named Haim, which meant princess, was embarrassing. It sounded cute when she was a kid, but with her age now it sounded odd. The girl's talk was suddenly interrupted by a blushing Kaoru who said that he thought the name was suitable for the girl. Hearing this, the girl was taken by surprise as she started stuttering and asking about what Kaoru was saying. After that, she slowly regained composure and thanked Kaoru. She all of a sudden noticed the time on a clock on a building and realized that it was bad as she was already late. She bid farewell to Kaoru and went away, leaving a dazed Kaoru standing on the same spot wondering about his feelings. In school, Kaoru was sitting with his friend and who annoyedly asked if he found a girl he liked. Kaoru said in embarrassment that he did not like her and that he was just interested in her, but there was a possibility that he might like her. But the friend, who was still annoyed, said that it was disgusting and that Kaoru should not say that kind of girlish stuff to him and that Kaoru was a betrayer. Kaoru was shocked from his friend's answer, and his friend continued by saying that even though he had believed that Kaoru would not betray him and that they would walk together as fellow noble geeks, and Kaoru should remember it, how they always cursed the word together at the anniversary day. Kaoru awkwardly said that he should forget the dark history and that he only did those kinds of things when he was in middle school. And now that he was a high school student, he also wanted to have a girlfriend. Kaoru's friend was angry at his answer and asked what he meant by that, and said that in the end Kaoru had also started liking those stupid things like love and he had become one of the foolish people. He then said that he hated Kaoru and that Kaoru should go die from AIDS. The friend Kaoru was talking to was Urano Izumi, who Kaoru usually called as Yura. Kaoru and Yura had an inseparable relationship from when they were in elementary school. When they were still kids, Yura was a very cheerful class leader, but ever since they had entered middle school, he had become a gloomy geek. Yura then insulted Orihara and said that she must be one of those kinds of girls who wear a short skirt to increase their appeal, and it was the definition of being a bitch, and by being dressed like that she was just asking to be molested. This angered Kaoru and he slammed his table and got up, scaring Yura, who fell down from his chair. A scared Yura started shouting that Kaoru was trying to resort to physical violence with him, and that Kaoru knew that he could not win against his mouth, so Kaoru resorted to this, but he will not accept it and that it was his win. Kaoru asked him to calm down and said that he would not do anything to him. When one got to know Yura, they would find that Yura was a very timid guy and that every time Kaoru went to Yura's class to play, Yura would cheerfully come out, which Kaoru thought that Yura was pretty cute. Afterwards, Yura asked Kaoru what he thought about it and if he was going to go out with Orihara. Kaoru said no and that it was too fast as they had just exchanged contacts, and that was all there was to it. Yura then asked Kaoru what he was planning to do, and Kaoru said that he was thinking about asking Yura first as he did not really understand what to do. Yura then said that Kaoru could just wait, as Orihara had also said that she wanted to thank Kaoru, so she will definitely contact him when the time was right. But Kaoru said that he wanted to contact her first as it would make him look more manly and that at least he should greet her first. Yura found this annoying and said that Kaoru was thinking too much about, and Kaoru and Orihara had just exchanged contact details and that Orihara should have lost all interest by then. Yura said that though Orihara wanted to thank Kaoru later, she will expect it to be troublesome and ignore Kaoru. At that moment a notification came on Kaoru's phone. It was from Orihara, who was asking Kaoru if he could meet her after school tomorrow as she wanted to thank him. Reading the message, Kaoru became happy as he started admiring it. Seeing this angered Yura, who cursed Kaoru to die. The next day after school, Kaoru was waiting for Orihara. He was afraid of being late, so he had come 30 minutes early. And seeing the condition of his hair, he was wondering if he should have gone to a salon first. At that moment Orihara came and asked Kaoru if he waited long. She then nervously apologized to Kaoru on calling him on a weird time as she had committee meeting and other things. Kaoru said that he did not mind. Orihara then said that it was kind of awkward as they had just met yesterday, and Kaoru agreed. Orihara suddenly shouted super swag, confusing Kaoru. Orihara was embarrassed from Kaoru's reaction and asked if she should have said that to keep the conversation flowing, as female high school students say something like that. Kaoru awkwardly said that although some people say that none in his surroundings do. Orihara then said to Kaoru to forget about it and that she did not say anything. Orihara then calmed herself, then asked Kaoru to take a walk with her. Kaoru then thought that there was something weird, funny and strange that makes him laugh every time he remembers it, and it was how their fairy tale-like story starts. Kaoru and Orihara were sitting on a bench in a park under a flyover. Orihara then said that she was really thankful for what Kaoru had done yesterday. So as a token of gratitude she had made him a lunchbox. Kaoru was a little surprised to see a lunchbox. Seeing Kaoru's surprised expression, Orihara became nervous as she stuttered and said if it was a bother to him and if he did not want it then she will eat everything so that Kaoru did not have to. Kaoru then stopped her and said that he was very happy. This was Kaoru's first time in life getting a lunchbox made by a girl. Orihara then said that she would be happy if Kaoru would take the lunchbox. Orihara then continued by saying that there were a lot of things that she had thought would be great to show her gratitude since she did not really know what made boys happy, and that since she was also a high school girl, she did not really have a lot of money. Orihara then said that it was right that she did not have a lot of money because she was just a high school girl. Kaoru was confused about what Urahara was saying. But Urahara continued and said that since she was born on the year of the snake, people had told her that she would not have money problems, but that was definitely not true in her case. Hearing her say that she was born on the year of the snake, Kaoru was surprised. Urahara asked if Kaoru did not know about it. Kaoru then replied that he knew it and someone had also told him about it. Urahara asked what he meant and Kaoru said that he was also born in the year of the snake too. Urahara was surprised from that. Kaoru said that it was surprising because that meant that both of them were the same age. Urahara gave a questioning look to Kaoru, and seeing her look, Kaoru said that since they were both born in the same year, that means Urahara was a first-year student too. Urahara was taken aback from the answer and she started stuttering in nervousness as she said that he was right, and that she was a first year now, and that she was a first-year high school girl. Kaoru then said that he thought that Urahara was his senior as Urahara gave adult-like vibes to him. Hearing Kaoru say that, Urahara got near Kaoru's face as she was shocked and said that she thought that she looked old and that she did not look like a high school girl, and it was impossible for her after all. Kaoru blushed as Urahara got near his face and shyly told her that she did not look old at all, and it was just that since she was so polite and calm, so he thought that she was kind of adult-like. Urahara then said that if that was what Kaoru had thought, then it was fine. Kaoru then asked what happened to her all of a sudden, to which Urahara played it off by saying that it was nothing, and that they should quickly eat now. Kaoru then opened the lunchbox and was amazed at how beautiful it looked. Urahara asked Kaoru to have a bite. Kaoru took a bite and Urahara asked him how it was, but Kaoru was too stunned to speak as the food was very tasty. He then turned to Urahara and said that the food was very delicious. Urahara said that she was glad that Kaoru liked it. Kaoru then continued by saying that it was the first time he had eaten such a delicious lunchbox and that Urahara was very good at cooking. Urahara was happy and replied that Kaoru was praising him too much, and this much was normal, and since she was living alone for a long time and was making lunch boxes every day, so she had gotten better at cooking. Kaoru asked why she was living alone as she was only a first year. Urahara tried to avoid it by saying that she had family matters. Kaoru realized that he should not ask her about it. After eating, Kaoru thanked for the food and said that it was very delicious. Urahara thanked him for eating it and said that for some reason it felt nice to have a boy eating her lunchbox, as she was feeling a little nervous because it was the first time a boy other than her family had eaten one of her lunchboxes. Kaoru became happy and said that it felt like a privilege to eat such a meal, and that he would like to eat them every day. Hearing this, Urahara became embarrassed as her face turned red, and seeing her, Kaoru panicked and said that he did not mean it in a weird way and he just thought they were delicious. Urahara said that she understood and thanked him for saying that he would like to eat her meals every day, as hearing that made her happy, and that she felt lonely since she usually made them for herself. Kaoru and Urahara were walking back home while talking about how Kaoru's surname had a spring-like vibe, although he was born in September, and how it made him older than Urahara as she was born in December. Kaoru realized that he had missed the timing to stop using formal speech, but he also felt that the situation was coming up nicely. At the station, Kaoru asked Urahara if she wanted him to send her home, but Urahara said that her house was quite close. Kaoru bade her goodbye as he said to her that he will see her next time. She replied the same and went away. While Kaoru was turning to go home, he realized that he had not returned the lunchbox, so he chased behind Urahara hoping to catch up to her. He saw Urahara go into the bathroom, so he waited, but after a long time he did not see Urahara, so he decided to message her. Urahara replied that she had already left the station, and Kaoru wondered if he mistook her for somebody else. Urahara then sent a message asking if Kaoru could return it the next time they met. Reading the message, Kaoru got happy as he thought that everything was going so well that it was kind of scary. Next day at school, Kaoru was talking with Yura and a blonde student whose name was Kana, who was saying that a lot of things had happened to Kaoru which he did not know about, and he asked Kaoru why he did not say anything right away if he had a girl he liked. And as he and Kara were friends, he said that he would help as much as he could, and if it went smoothly then he asked Kaoru to go on a double date with him. Yura angrily said to Kana that he should not drag Kaoru into his weird love affair, and that Kaoru will walk alongside him on the secret path. But Kana replied that Yura's path was the evil realm of death. Kana's full name was Kanao Haruka. When he was younger, Kana was a child who seemed to be always reading a book alone in class, but after he became a junior high school student, he became a shiny character, and he was also a childhood friend of Kaoru. In the first year itself, Kana had exchanged contact information with almost 70% of the girls in class, and Kaoru thought that his and Kana's experiences were different. Karna then said that since Kaoru fell in love with first sight with Urahara, then that meant that she was cute, and asked Kaoru if he had any photos of her, to which Kaoru replied that he did not, and he also does not call Urahara by her given name. She did not use any SNS. Kana said that it was rare for high school girl not to have SNS. After that, Kana asked if Kaoru had any plans for the next date with Urahara. But Kaoru said that he did not and was waiting for Urahara to contact him, as he did not want to make his feelings obvious. Kana then advised Kaoru and said that being passive was not attractive, and that girls were like princesses who wanted their prince to take lead, and that princes were the people who would take action first, and that even if he fell in love with the princess's appearance, but he should show that he was in love with their personality. The truth dawned on Kaoru about what he should do. Yura suddenly took Kaoru's phone, saying that he would help him with the words. Kaoru started fighting with Yura for his phone. At that moment he received a message from Urahara. Kaoru snatched his phone back to read the message. It was a message where Urahara was asking Kaoru if he would like to go on a whole day date with her on next Saturday. On Saturday, Kaoru met Urahara. He asked why they were wearing the uniform, to which Urahara replied that there was no particular reason, and that she just wanted to try a uniform date. Kaoru then asked her where they were going, to which Urahara replied that she had not decided yet, and for now they should just walk around aimlessly and have a student-like date. Kaoru and Urahara then went to McDonald's, and it was a long time since Urahara had been to a place like that. While eating, Kaoru was surprised to know that Urahara played games. Urahara said that she plays a lot, and the game she was currently playing the most was Super Smash Bros. Kaoru said that he had also played it. This excited Urahara, as she said that she found the game interesting, and that she was playing it since the 64 version. Kaoru was confused about what the 64 version was. Urahara then panicked and said that she played the 64 first because she had an older sister, and that Kaoru must have started from the Melee version. But Kaoru said that he had started normally with the Brawl version. This freaked out Urahara. While walking, they saw a karaoke bar, and Kaoru asked Urahara what type of music she liked. Urahara said that she did not have a preference and liked any song that made her feel like boom. Kaoru said that he was the same, and that if he liked any soundtracks of anime or drama, he would put them in his playlist. Urahara agreed and said that she also put it in her MD. Kaoru asked Urahara what an MD was. This shocked her, as she asked what Kaoru used to listen to music, to which he replied that he used an iPod, shocking Urahara. Next, they went to a manga store. Urahara asked if Kaoru mostly read older manga. Kaoru said that since he had a lot of chances to read them, as the older manga were promoted online, and some of them were still serializing while others have anime adaptation, and he usually read the manga his father had bought either before his birth or while he was in elementary school. Hearing that, Urahara asked how old Kaoru's father was. Kaoru said that since his father was 23 years older than him this year, his father was 38. This shocked Urahara, as she started to feel dizzy and lost her footing, surprising Kaoru. After that, they went to an arcade. This was the first time Urahara had come to a place like this, as even if she wanted, she did not have any friends to come along with, so she asked Kaoru to show her how to play. She said that while pulling on Kaoru's sleeve, which made him blush, they started playing different games there. While taking the lift down, Urahara laughed at Kaoru at not being able to play any sports, and that his basketball dribble looked like an old man's. This made Kaoru turn red from embarrassment. Seeing this, Urahara hurriedly said that she did not mean to make fun of him, and that she just found it as cute, and she wondered if Kaoru was playing any sports, as he had a big and muscular body, to which he replied that he has muscles from helping his father at work. Kaoru then said that Urahara was bad at sports too, and she even said something like how she, the princess, would show him how it was done. Urahara fumed and said that she had just misspoken. They reached the ground floor while laughing, and Kaoru decided that he would stop being passive and approach her first, but before he could say something, Urahara suddenly grabbed his arm and dragged him into a photo booth to hide, saying that she had seen an acquaintance from office, which at the last second she changed to school. Urahara, who was scared of being seen, so she pressed her body on Kaoru and pushed him deeper. Kaoru realized that it was bad, as he felt Urahara's melons against his body. Urahara asked Kaoru to go in deeper. Even though Kaoru knew what she meant, he could not stop fantasizing, as Urahara was too erotic. After her acquaintances left, Urahara came out and apologized to Kaoru, who trembling from embarrassment, and then she asked him if it was alright with him. She wanted to take a photo sticker together, as she had never taken one, and she wanted one as a memory of today. After taking a photo, Urahara was excited, as it was her first photo sticker, and thanked Kaoru for going along with her selfishness, and that she would remember this her whole life. Seeing her like that, Kaoru suddenly grabbed her hand and confessed to her that he liked her, and although they have not known each other for a week and so he should not say that, but he really liked her and was thinking about her from the day they had met, and that he wanted to learn more about her and wanted her to know more about him and he wanted to be with her more. Kaoru thought to himself that being with Urahara was fun and he did not want to lose her, and that this was the first time he felt that way, and that princes are the ones who took action first, so nothing would change if he did not voice his feelings, so he would take the first step. Thinking this, he asked Urahara to go out with him, but Urahara, crying as she repeatedly apologized, stunning Kaoru. She then said a final sorry and ran away. Kaoru was stunned and confused about what happened, and the only thing he could say was that that day was the first time he had confessed, and the first time he was rejected since he was born. In class, Yura was making fun of a depressed Kaoru, saying that Kaoru also had nerd blood in him. Yura then continued and said that Urahara was also quite wicked, as she was the one who had invited Kaoru, and if Kaoru had confessed to her, she should not have just said that she was sorry, and Kaoru should not expect anything if he had no courage, and that it was all a disaster, and Kaoru just caught up in Urahara's damned recognition of desire. Kaoru had enough of Yura as he angrily got up from his seat and in anger lifted Yura up by his shirt. Realizing what he was doing, he apologized and let go of him. Kana said that it was Yura's fault as he was being too insensitive. Yura was shocked and said that he just hated that Urahara was toying with Kaoru's pure heart. Kana then said that he understood that Yura was trying to cheer Kaoru up, but love was not that simple. He then praised Kaoru, saying that he did good job and that Kaoru tried his best. Kaoru was depressed as he sat down in his seat and said that he did not particularly calculate the chances of his success, but there was a part of him thinking that it might go well, as Urahara was the one who had invited him, and when they were together it looked like she was having fun, and Kaoru wondered what was actually happening. Kana then asked Kaoru if the girl's name was Urahara Harem. Kaoru said yes and asked him what was wrong, to which Kana replied that although he knew it was bad, but he still investigated a little about Urahara, as he was wondering with what kind of maiden Kaoru had fallen in love with, so he contacted a few of his friends and asked them if they knew about her. Kaoru was shocked and asked Kana if he really did that, but Kana gave an answer which shocked Kaoru. Kana said that Urahara did not exist, and it seemed that there was no one in Taju's first year who was named Urahara Harem. Kana then continued and said that he asked 5 people and none of them knew her, and it seemed that searching for her was also not possible. Kaoru asked what he meant by that and if he was saying that Urahara was a fake name. Kana said that perhaps Urahara was not a student of Taojo Academy at all. Kaoru angrily got up and asked what was Kana saying, and Urahara was properly wearing the Taji uniform. But Kana said that Kaoru only saw the uniform, he did not see her student ID card, nor did he see her with any of her friends from Taju, and Kana then continued and said that Kaoru had helped her from a molester in the train, but girls from Taju cannot take the same train as Kaoru because it comes from the opposite direction. All of a sudden Kaoru realized that it was certainly true, and that if he thought about it again then there was no proof that Urahara was a student of Taju, as there was nothing which said otherwise other than her uniform. Kana then asked Kaoru who in the world Kaoru fell in love with. At that moment Kaoru got a message from Urahara that said she was sorry about yesterday, and she asked to meet Kaoru and then she would tell him about everything. Kaoru decided that he needed to go as he had to hear her story. So, he went to the meeting spot, which was a family restaurant called Benny's. At the restaurant, Kaoru and Urahara were sitting at a table. Urahara asked Kaoru to let her talk first. She said that she could not date him and she had called him here so that she could talk about that, and she was sorry if he had misunderstood anything. She then continued by saying that the reason she wanted to meet him today was because she wanted to talk to Kaoru about the truth, and that she has been hiding something from him, and it was more like deceiving instead of hiding. And since it would have felt too insincere to just bid farewell all of a sudden, so she wanted to explain everything until the end. Then she asked him to wait for a while there as she got up and went somewhere. Kaoru was confused about what she was talking about deceiving and hiding, as he just wanted to know what type of person the girl was that he fell in love with. After a while Kaoru was taken by surprise when a woman in a suit and glasses came and sat at Urahara's seat. The woman then said that she was sorry for surprising him and it was nice to make his acquaintance. The woman then introduced herself to Kaoru, and she was none other than Urahara Harem, and she was actually 27 years old. Kaoru was shocked when he found out that the high school girl that he was in love with was actually 27 years old. Urahara gave the proof by showing Kaoru her business card and ID proof. Then she said that the thing about she being high school girl was just a lie and she was sorry about that. Urahara then asked Kaoru if he really did not notice that she was not a high school girl at all. Kaoru said that he did not notice it, and that made Urahara happy. But then Kaoru said all of a sudden that even if he did not notice it, but she as an adult taking the appearance of a high school girl was quite unsuitable, and she was being openly shy and in high spirits about to it. This was like a bolt out of the blue for Orihara as she slumped in her seat and asked Kaoru to stop and said that she knew how severe it was what she had done. Kaoru then seriously asked her if everything that she had said were lies. She then said that it was because she cannot attend Taojo school anymore. Kaoru then asked what she had said about her birthday and zodiac. Orihara awkwardly shouted that it was all true. Kaoru then said that their ages were different just by a year. Orihara snapped and slammed the table, scaring Kaoru. She then shouted that it was not a year round because it was 11 years and 10 months. Kaoru then raised his hand like a student and asked her why she appeared as a high school student, and Kaoru then said that everyone had their hobbies, to which Orihara replied in embarrassment that it was not like that and she was not doing it because she liked to. Orihara then explained to Kaoru why she was dressed like that. She said that it was true that she was attending Taoju school, but that was 10 years ago and she still had high school friends she was close to, and one of them was Yuki. The day before she had met Kaoru, she had gone to play at Yuki's house and she had drunk with her. Since Orihara had met Yuki after a long time, she could not stop drinking and talking, and before she could notice they were both very drunk and became unconscious. Yuki had then said to Orihara that she was really baby-faced and could really pass off as a high school student even now. Then Yuki had brought the uniform from when they were still high schoolers, and because Orihara was too drunk she had tried wearing that. When she woke up in the morning, she realized that it was already the time she left her home for work, and if she went home to change into a suit then it would have been too late for work, so she went to the train as fast as she could, and once she got there she finally noticed the clothes she was wearing. She became embarrassed and was mumbling to herself about what a shameful play it was, and even under normal circumstances that was hell for her. In the train she was afraid of the molester, but she was more scared about what to do when somebody found out about her actual age, which was same as them. She might have killed a pervert socially if she had raised her voice and asked for help, but then she would have also been found out and it was likely that she would appear in the news. Kaoru then realized why she was wearing the uniform that day. Orihara continued and said that Kaoru was the one who had saved her from that pinch, and she once again thanked him because of that, and if he had not done that she would have died socially, and although it left Kaoru with embarrassing memories, but because of that she was saved, so Kaoru has been really helpful. And because of Kaoru's kind nature and as he was considerate to girls, she thought that Kaoru was very cool at that time, even though he did everything in a pitiful way. Following that, it was just like how Kaoru saw her while she was cosplaying as a high school girl to meet him. She said that it was hard for her too, and that day when she had made a lunchbox she was in a rush, so she changed her clothes and put her bag in a locker. She was embarrassed to walk down with that appearance, but it was a little fun for her. Orihara then got embarrassed and said that she meant that it was fun when she was with Kaoru. Kaoru then asked her if it was fun for her when he was there, to which Orihara strongly replied that it was correct and if it was wrong for her to feel that way. She then calmly said that it was fun for her as she felt that she had went back to her student days. Kaoru thought to himself that Orihara was really the girl he had fallen in love with. Orihara then got off from her seat and said that she should end this because the magic had already vanished. She then placed a 10,001 note on the table and said that she would pay as she was an adult, and asked Kaoru to order something that he liked and to keep the rest as an apology for deceiving him. Orihara then left. Kaoru started chasing behind her, asking for her to wait for a moment, but she kept on going. At last, after going a little further, she stopped and turned back, asking him what it was. Kaoru asked her what did she mean by what, as they had not finished speaking yet. Orihara then asked Kaoru what more did he want to talk about, and asked in surprise if Kaoru was really trying to tell her that he still liked her. Kaoru tried to say something but was interrupted by Orihara, who strongly said that the girl Kaoru liked does not exist in the world, and that if Kaoru had known that she was 27 years old he would have never fallen in love with her from beginning, as it was natural, and he was a high school student and she was already an aunt to him, and it was alright as she was the one who was at fault. Kaoru asked her if it was over for them just like that. Orihara said that it was over as she has no choice but to end it, as Kaoru was 15 years old and she was 27 years old and the world that they lived in were completely different. Kaoru then asked her if it was because of their age gap. Orihara then shouted in embarrassment that Kaoru did not understand it at all and she was 27 years old, which was the same age as Ego-san. This confused Kaoru as he did not know what person Orihara was talking about. Orihara then said that Kaoru was from the generation that played the Wii while she was the one who used to play on the Super Famicom, and that they would never reach an agreement. She then shouted that Kaoru was playing with the Game Boy Advance SP, but Kaoru interrupted and said that the game he played was Nintendo DS though. This shocked Orihara as the S was from the new generation and SP belonged to the old one, and so she said that the world they lived in were different as she was dedicated to Rockman.exe, which was played on the SP while Kaoru was playing the new DS from the beginning. Then she turned around and started leaving and begged Kaoru to forget about her. Kaoru then hurriedly asked her to stop. Orihara then asked if Kaoru still did not understand and Kaoru should read the situation and go home, as she did not think of Kaoru as anything. Kaoru then said that her reaction was interesting, so he teased her a bit. Orihara looked at Kaoru and asked him not to misunderstand just because she was kind, and it was impossible for her to reply to such a confession, and that there would not be any man who would rent an amusement park and wait in front of the castle with a bouquet in his hand for an adult woman. Kaoru then asked her why would she say that. Orihara then said to Kaoru to stop lying, to which he replied that he was not, and asked her why she cried when he confessed to her and told her to stop her acting as he understood her. Orihara asked what did Kaoru even understood about her. Kaoru said that he understood because she was the person who he fell in love with. Orihara got embarrassed as she asked Kaoru stop and not to come any closer to her. She then begged him to forget about her and said that Kaoru should have a more normal love story with someone his age and that it was alright and she was sure Kaoru would be dating a cute girl soon. Saying that she bid farewell to Kaoru and ran away, leaving him standing alone there. Next day at school, Yura was surprised to find about Orihara's age and said that 27 years old meant that Orihara was an old auntie. Kana was surprised too, as he said that nobody would have thought that Orihara would be an office lady who worked at Harumi daily, and that Orihara did not look like a 27-year-old woman, rather her face appeared quite childish in the photo. Yura then commented that women could turn into anything after they applied makeup, and Kaoru was actually saved since he almost went out with an old woman. Yura continued and said that even women looked like as if they just wanted to toy and seduce younger males, but nobody was able to know what those type of immoral women would try to do and that it was obscene. But Kaoru thought differently, as he thought that the previous him would have probably thought like how Yura had said it, but it was different since he had met her. Kana understood what Kaoru was thinking of and asked him that if he was still not able to still get over it. Yura was surprised to hear that and stood up in shock and asked Kaoru if what Kana said was true. Then said to him that Orihara was almost in her 30s. Kaoru said that it was not like he was fully attached to Orihara. He was just not able to organize his mind completely yet. Kana then advised Kaoru with good intention that he better stop chasing Orihara, and that he should quickly forget about her as fast as possible, and even though Karyua was having a good dream, he should come back to reality soon, and that 27 years old was already in his for a prominent working adult, and that Orihara was different from them, and depending on the person, some people at that age were already thinking about marriage and childbirth, and that they would not approach Kaoru with just half-hearted feelings. Yura then said to Kaoru strongly that even if Orihara looked young and beautiful when he met her, she would still grow faster to being an auntie, and it would be faster than Kaoru would grow. And now he might feel that it was alright, but when the passion faded, then what would he think about a woman with a 12-year-old age difference? Koro cheerfully thanked them that it was just like what they said, and thanks to that he was finally able to wake up to reality. Yura cheerfully asked Kaoru to go all out and play games at his house today. Kana interrupted and said that Kaoru should have a new meeting now, and that they should go to a mixer. Kaoru said that he did not feel like going to a mixer right now, and for now he would do nothing and just play games. Orihara was zoning out in her office. There was a beautiful junior of her who was calling her repeatedly. Her junior then asked if she was okay, as it seemed that she was joining out. Orihara apologized and said that it was nothing and that she was okay. The junior then gave her some materials and said that it was a summary of the materials Orihara had requested, and if she was feeling unwell, she should just say so, and that for the past few days Orihara had seemed unwell. Orihara replied that she was fine and thanked the junior, whose name was Komatsu, for her concern. While her junior was walking away, Orihara thought that if she was a man, she would have fallen in love with the kind of girl that Komatsu was, and as Komatsu was 23 years old, Orihara thought that she would be blinded by our dazzling. Her youthfulness was, and 15 years old was like staring at the sun itself. A week had passed since the incident had happened, and now Orihara was in her workplace, and that was her reality, and that she needed to get a grip. She thought that she was not qualified to get hurt or feel sad, as the one who was in the wrong was herself, and her acts were inconsiderate and mischievous, and that had made a young boy get deeply hurt, and that she always thought that she wanted to fall in love, and she used Kaoru to wipe out her complex, which she had back when she was still at school, even though it was really fun. And the first love which would not have come to her in reality, she at least wanted to make a memory, and in order to start over her plain dull life she had used Kaoru's innocence. Like Kaoru had confessed to her, she had also fallen in love with him at first sight, and she also liked him, and that she was so happy to the point that her heart was about to be crushed by the guilt. She then told herself that Kaoru was a young 15-year-old boy and there was no way he would want to stay with a 27-year-old like her, and that her first love was a forbidden love. She then wondered if she was 15 years old and Kaoru was 27 years old, if they could have been together without any obstacles. She then convinced herself that the dream was over now, as the magic had already broken for her. That evening Kaoru and Orihara were meeting at the park. They had met on their lunchbox date. Orihara greeted Kaoru and he greeted back and said that it has been a long time and thanked her for coming there. Orihara said that it could not be helped anyway, so she came and asked him what was the reason he had called her there for. Kaoru replied that it was about the money when he had gone to a family restaurant with Orihara, and she had left him a 10,000 yen note. Orihara said that it was just consolation money for him and that he did not have to return it and he could just use it to buy anything he liked. Kaoru said yes, and that he had bought a game that he liked with that money. Orihara was taken aback as she thought that she was so depressed to the point she was not able to play games. Kaoru had bought a game with money. Kaoru then continued and said that he had been playing the game for a week as he showed the game to Orihara. Orihara was surprised as the game was the Game Boy Advanced SP. Then she asked in surprise why he bought it and asked him why did he choose such a nostalgic game. Kaoru replied that he had bought it since he wanted to try playing Rockman.exe. He then said that he has been sparing his bedtime for the weekend, finally cleared the game, and that it was very interesting, and he actually underestimated the game since it was an old game, but the battle system was out of his expectations, and the story was great too. This made Orihara happy as her face turned red. Kaoru continued and said that he did not know anything other than Rockman and Super Smash Bros. And asked Orihara if there were a lot of games like these. Orihara asked Kaoru why he did these kinds of things. Kaoru replied that he wanted to get a little bit closer to Orihara. He wanted to try playing the games Orihara was interested in, and Orihara had said before that the world Kaoru lived in was different from hers, who had dedicated her youth to Rockman.exe, so he thought that if he played the same game that Orihara played he could at least understand her feelings a little bit more, and he wondered if he finally understood how Orihara's world felt, even if just a little. Orihara asked in surprise what was with that, and Kaoru replied that he could not give up as he still liked Orihara. Orihara then scolded Kaoru, asking him if he was stupid as there was no way that they could go out with each other. Yes, their ages were different, and that Kaoru was just confused because of the high tension between them now, but he will absolutely regret if he went out with her just because of those short-lived feelings, and even if they managed to go out with each other there was no way the relationship between a working adult and a student would work, as even their ideas and values were all different. She strongly requested Kaoru to not to sacrifice his youth for someone like her, and that he should have something more like a student's romance. Kaoru then said to her that he was told by a friend that it was better to completely forget all of the things that had happened, but he had come to his senses and realized something, that he was not prepared enough, and even though his friends were against it and he did not know if he could take how severe the stares and rumors from strangers would be, and if he was not ready enough to protect Orihara from the world that forced on them about what was considered normal, and that he wanted to fix his confession to her as his previous one was for the high school student version of Orihara, and this time was for the 27-year-old her, and he wanted to tell her that he really liked her. All of a sudden, small sandcastle with lights on it sighted shining. Orihara said that it was pretty, and out of nowhere Kaoru brought out a bouquet of roses and said that he was glad since it looked like Orihara liked it. Orihara was surprised and asked what was happening as she stuttered. Kaoru then continued and said that Orihara had said about how adult women hate men who were not serious-minded enough, and that they should do something like renting an amusement park while appearing with a book in front of a castle. Orihara was surprised as Kaoru had taken her words seriously, but Kaoru still continued and said that he could only present the cheap sandcastle to her for now, and if Orihara still felt that she could not fall in love with a 15-year-old brat who still has not entered the society, he would give up. But if Orihara was thinking about things like Kaoru's future or his youth, then those thoughts were unnecessary because his heart was already put out of order by her, and that he really liked her, even the real 27-year-old version of her, and that he neither had the money nor the power to be someone like a prince, and even his face was not one of those super good-looking ones, but at least his heart was really hard to be Orihara's prince, and asked Orihara to be his princess. Orihara started crying, and she thought about how she had always hated her name ever since she was born, as she had already graduated from the age where she dreamed about being a princess. But she still had to shoulder that name of being a princess for her whole life, but now she felt happy for that name. She then told Kaoru while sobbing that doing something like that for her was not worth it as she was already 27 years old, which was basically an auntie, but Kaoru interrupted and said that 27 years old was not an auntie yet. Urahara then said while sobbing that she was not that much a good woman and she did not have something like womanly skills and social standing, and that she was a woman who only played games during holidays. Kaoru replied that they could play games together. Urahara then said that the food that she gave to Kaoru was delicious only because she had put all my mind into it and that there was no way she would work that hard every day. Kaoru said that he did not mind that kind of thing that much. Urahara teased Kaoru saying that even though he often looked at her melons, Kaoru turned red in embarrassment. Urahara continued and said that her melons would eventually sag. Kaoru then shouted in utter embarrassment that he would enjoy them even if they sag and that they would sag when the time comes anyway, but he would look forward to it. Urahara laughed at Kaoru's nonsensical answer and asked him if he was alright with her and if he would take the slightly older woman as his girlfriend. Kaoru replied yes as he handed the bouquet to her. Next day in class, Kaoru thanked Kana and Yura for their help. Kana congratulated Kaoru and Yura was fuming as he had to play in the sandbox to make the castle at his age. Kana teased him by saying that even though Yura said that he was the one who worked the hardest to make the castle, and he was really working hard for Kaoru, Yura became embarrassed as he played it off by saying that he just liked that kind of work while Kaoru complained about the early light-up timing. This made Yura angry as he shouted that it was dark and he was not able to see well. Kana said that he thought that it was the best timing as it went well according to Kaoru's plan, and since Yura and Kana had gone home afterwards so they did not know what kind of poem Kaoru said, but no matter what the result of the confession was, it was something both Kaoru and Urahara had decided on. Kaoru then deeply thanked them again as Kana continued and said that it has not been 2 weeks since Kaoru had first met Urahara, but their forbidden love was almost like Romeo and Juliet, and the hard part started just now as in reality love has an even longer epilogue. On the other hand, Urahara was daydreaming while looking at the photo sticker of her and Kaoru. All of a sudden Komatsu came and asked what Urahara was smiling at for a while now. She hurriedly hid the photo and said that it was nothing as she thought to herself as how for at least now she wanted to be happy, and she looked outside the window and wondered how Kaoru would be eating lunch with his friends and that she should make a bento for him again. At 6 in the morning Kaoru was nervous as he was waiting for the perfect time to call Urahara. He was thinking if it would be too gaudy for him to call her at the exact time. Kaoru then hesitatingly dialed Urahara's number and called her. Urahara greeted Kaoru and he greeted her back and asked her how she accepted his call so quickly, and he also asked her if she just woke up, but Urahara replied that she had actually woken up around 30 minutes ago, shocking Kaoru, who thought that it was too early. Urahara said that when she thought that Kaoru was going to wake her up, she became somewhat nervous. Kaoru then said that his wake-up call then became meaningless. Urahara hurriedly said that it was not true and that if she did not know that Kaoru was going to call her, then she was sure that Kaoru would have caught her unprepared and that she would have been oversleeping, and also that she was happy to able to hear Kaoru's voice in the morning. While saying that, Urahara's face turned red in embarrassment. This surprised Kaoru as his heart fluttered. He asked her if she was going to the company today. Urahara replied that she was, and Kaoru said that it sure was tough that she had to work on a Saturday. Urahara then said that sometimes it happened, but today she was going to have a drink with Yuki that evening, so she would do best and look forward to it, and then she asked if Kaoru was going to play with Kana today. Kaoru replied that Kana had mentioned something about buying clothes at the store near the station. Kaoru then said to her that they should hang up soon, and Urahara bid him goodbye, but after a few moments no one of them hanged up. Urahara then told Kaoru to hang up and Kaoru replied the same back to her. Then they decided to hang up at the countdown of 3, but after the countdown nobody hanged up. Kaoru asked Urahara why she did not hang up. Urahara replied to that by saying that Kaoru also did not hang up, so they decided to do it once more as Urahara had to leave for work, so they hanged up at the countdown of 3. This was the 3rd day ever since Kaoru and Urahara had started dating, even though they called or chatted with each other via line whenever they had free time, but still Kaoru was not able to get used to it. He was also tired but very happy and was always worrying, and his heart was always skipping a beat. Then all of a sudden, a girl walked into the room and told him that having a girlfriend was really amazing, and that Kaoru was in a real good mood this early. Kaoru was surprised and asked if he was humming. The girl said that Kaoru was surely humming, and then she pushed him away saying that she wanted to use the mirror so he should go away. Kaoru asked her what she was doing, and the girl replied that Kaoru should be okay since he would not really change no matter how much he tidied himself anyway. Kaoru replied that of course he would not, as compared to his big sister who changes a lot by using makeup. This angered the girl. The girl was none other than Momota Kid and was Kaoru's big sister and a college student. She had a domineering and carefree personality. Kid asked domineering and carefree if he finally had someone he liked. Kaoru became nervous as he asked her why she was asking that all of a sudden. Kid said that Kaoru started caring about his hairstyle and clothes out of nowhere, and she teased him by saying that it was finally that kind of time for Kaoru. Kaoru timidly asked her to leave him alone. Then she teased Kaoru about what their father had happily said, that their house helper was in high spirits because of a girl, and if Kaoru would start to care about being the successor as well. Kaoru said that high school students also had many other friends, but he then thought to himself was how it was really related to a female though. Kid then asked Kaoru if he would like a love life consultation from his big sister. Kaoru then angrily said that he would definitely not consult with her at all. Kid then teased Kaoru that if Kaoru was lucky enough to make her his girlfriend, then he should introduce her to Kid and that she would doll his girlfriend a lot for him. Kaoru thought to himself about how Kid asked Aim to introduce her when he had a girlfriend, and how he had actually already started going out with Urahara, and that he would have to introduce her to Kid at another time, as he wanted himself and Urahara to prepare their heart first. As if Kid knew that her little brother was finally able to get his first girlfriend, but that girlfriend was actually 27 years old. What kind of face would Kid make? Kaoru and Kana were in a store, and Kaoru was trying out a new jacket, and Kana was asking him about how he liked it and told him to put it on. Kaoru put the jacket on and Kana told him that it looked nice, and as he thought Kaoru looked great with jackets. Kaoru asked Kana if that was what he thought, as the jacket was a little plain. Kana said that he did not think that the jacket was plain, but more like it was mature and chic. Kaoru then said that he would have to buy the tops and bottoms as well, so he wanted to try wearing the quite dirty clothes that Kana was wearing right now. Kana was shocked and asked what did Kaoru meant by quite dirty, as Kana fully coordinates all his clothes while following the grunge fashion, and that those will only look good with a handsome guy like Kana, and that Kaoru should just stop trying it. Kaoru thought that he was just trying to praise Kana though. Kana then continued and said that Kaoru was tall and has great shoulder width, so he thought that it would be better for him to wear something more adult-like, and that Kaoru should also think about when he was walking together with Urahara. Kana would pick up the clothes that would not make Kaoru feel embarrassed even if he was walking with an adult woman. Kaoru was shocked and asked if Kana thought that far ahead. Kana nonchalantly said of course, and talking about fashion he needed to think if it would suit Kaoru when he was walking together with Urahara. Kaoru was shocked as he realized that he would not be able to think of giving his best by imagining the person he would walk together with if he was by himself, and if he would walk with Urahara. What kind of casual clothes would she wear? Kana then said that even though that sounded great, but he did not have any social experience with office workers, so he would try to think of something to the best of his ability, but he was not confident, so Kaoru should not expect much from him. Kaoru said that Kana should not be too humble, as this much help was already enough for him. Kana said that he was glad of Kaoru saying that and asked him when was the date. Kaoru said that there was none, shocking Kana. Kaoru continued and said that they had not decided yet. Kana asked Kaoru if he came to buy clothes for his date even though he did not have any date appointments. Kaoru embarrassedly shouted and told Kana to shut up as it was fine. Kana then said that if Kaoru was okay then it was fine, and teased Kaoru saying that he was very innocently energetic. Kaoru got embarrassed and angrily said that everything was the first time for him anyway and he would of course be desperate. Kana laughed so loud that tears came out from his eyes as he apologized to Kaoru and asked him to not get angry. Kaoru then wondered how he would invite Urahara for a date. Kana said that Kaoru should just invite her normally as both of them were dating anyway, so he did not have to hold himself back. Kaoru told Kana that even if that was true, Urahara was working every day as an office lady, and unlike him who was just a carefree student, and if they were going somewhere he would have to choose a place where they would not meet anyone they knew. And he wondered if he was thinking too much, but then again it was impossible for them to hold hands or link arms in public. Kana agreed to that. Kana then said that both Kaoru and Urahara going out while avoiding being seen sounded like an affair. Kaoru told Kana that he should not say that kind of rude thing. While coming home, Kaoru thought that how they were not doing something bad like an affair, but still somewhere in the back of his head he still had a doubt. Later, while Kaoru was playing games with Yura online, and Yura said that Kaoru was an idiot for spending 10,000 yen on clothes, as it was a wasteful way of spending money, and that if he had 10,000, he could have rolled the gacha for 50 more times. Kaoru replied that gacha was way more wasteful though. Then Yura had another bad luck as he was not able to get any gems, but Kaoru got gems again, and this frustrated Yura as he shouted about why only Kaoru got them and he would keep on hunting until he got it. Kaoru said yes as he started thinking if Urahara played the game he was playing or not. He wondered if she was the first generation that played the game series that appeared on the PS2. It was a world that he could not imagine for as he was from the PS4 generation. All of a sudden, the character died and Kaoru and Yura lost the game. Yura got angry at Kaoru and shouted at him to not get distracted. Kaoru apologized and said that he lost focus for a second. Yura then angrily asked Kaoru if he really was thinking about Orihara. Kaoru got embarrassed and asked Yura how he knew about that. Yura was happy that he hit the bullseye and said that not only Kana but now even Kaoru had turned into a rogue whose thoughts were only filled about intercourse. Plus, since this was Kaoru's first time having a girlfriend, so no matter what he was doing his head must be always filled with her. And it was like Kaoru was in heat 24 hours a day and 7 days a week. Yura then cursed Kaoru saying that he better just go die. Kaoru then apologized again to Yura and said that he would be back in a minute. Thinking that Kaoru had gone, Yura said that he was not really against him going out with Orihara, but that even if he already had a girlfriend, he should play with him properly. Kaoru asked what did Yura say, as he said that he could not hear his voice because it was too soft. Yura said that it was nothing. But Kaoru, who had heard him, teased him by saying that he would play properly with him, so Yura should not worry. Yura got embarrassed as his face turned red and he shouted about Kaoru hearing what he had said and asked Kaoru to just go and die. All of the generations of Kaoru's family had been managing an osteopath clinic since his grandfather's generation. The store was right next to their home. In the store, Kaoru was helping out when an old lady saw him and asked him if he was helping out today and praised him by saying that Kaoru sure was working hard. She wondered if she could have Kaoru serve her next time. Kaoru's father said that it was too early for Kaoru. In the store, his father and 2 other employees were working, and although somebody could not call their business big, they had many regular customers there, and last year they were also able to completely renovate the store, and Kaoru started honestly helping there ever since he became a high schooler, and rather than a part-time job it was like a service work. And recently he was trying to work especially hard, as in his case Orihara also had her circumstances as someone who was older than him, and since she was a 27-year-old office lady who was working for a famous company, it would not be strange if she had her own savings, and since he was going out with someone like her he wanted to be in an equal position with her. Kaoru's father was happy because he thought that his son was finally willing to become his successor. But Kaoru felt a little sorry for his father, as although he was not trying to deceive him, he had not fully thought about taking over the store. At home, Kaoru saw his phone ringing and it was a call from Orihara. He wondered what it was about and if something had happened. He then thought that she could call him even if she does not have anything, as they were dating. He wondered if Orihara was going to say something like she wanted to hear Kaoru's voice. Kaoru picked up the phone and asked what was wrong while calling Orihara as honey. There was no reply from the other side, and Kaoru thought that it was bad and Orihara had ignored him and if he had ruined the mood by calling her honey. From the other side, Yuki's voice came and she said that Kaoru was more of that kind of character than what she had expected. Kaoru was shocked to hear someone else's voice instead of Orihara's. Yuki continued and said that from what she had heard from Orihara, she thought that Kaoru would be a little stiff and naive. Kaoru nervously asked who that was, and Yuki replied by saying that she was Shirai Yuki, Orihara's friend. Kaoru recognized Yuki and Yuki asked him how he knew about her, and Kaoru said that he had heard about her name from Orihara several times. He then asked why was Orihara's phone with Yuki. Yuki then replied that Kaoru must be wondering why she was the one calling from his honey's smartphone. This embarrassed Kaoru a lot, but Yuki continued and said that if Kaoru wanted to hear then she would explain it properly, so he should listen about why she had his sweet honey's smartphone. An embarrassed Kaoru apologized to Yuki and begged her to forgive him. Yuki then got to the point and asked Kaoru to come over for a while, as Orihara had gotten into something troublesome. Kaoru hurriedly put on his jacket as he ran out from his house to go and find out what had happened to Orihara.